Let's get more on this now with Malcolm Davis in Canberra, Australia. He's a senior analyst in defence strategy and capability at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Really good to have you with us, Malcolm. Can I start with these latest drone strikes in the capital, Kiev? It seems that Russia is unleashing this new, stage of an attack. For a long time, the capital, Kiev, was seen as perhaps somewhat of a safe haven and off limits. But we are seeing in recent days the capital come under a barrage of these Iranian-made drones. What are you expecting there? Is it likely that Kiev can survive these drone strikes?
Well, thank you for having me on. Look, I think this campaign of drone and missile strikes against Kiev and other Ukrainian cities has actually been going on for some time. Russia's objective here is to attack the water and the electricity supplies as Ukraine goes into a very cold winter, to try and impose misery on the Ukrainian people and break their spirit and break their resolve. And in that sense, it's very similar to what the Nazis did in the Second World War with the bombing of London in the Blitz. That failed, and this will fail. And so what you will see is the Ukrainians redoubling their determination to fight. And already we're seeing very effective use of air defenses by the Ukrainians, shooting down the majority of those drones and those missile attacks.
Yes, because up until now, we know that the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the east and south of the country had largely been gaining pace. It was seen as one of the success stories in this war. But now, as you say, it seems that its critical infrastructure is being targeted. How then can Ukrainian security forces address that angle? What needs to be done in order for them to protect water, electricity and gas supplies?
Well, look, I think essentially continue to do what they're doing, because they're having a very good success rate in terms of shooting down those drones and those missiles. But at the same time, attacks are getting through. You're seeing the agreement with the Americans to bring in the Patriot surface-to-air missile system. That's going to be crucial in coming months, because the Russians are going to seek to acquire much more capable Iranian ballistic missiles called the Fateh and the Zolkafar. So it'll be crucial to have that Patriot missile system in place to counter that. And I think the other thing that the Ukrainians can do is acquire additional deep strike capabilities so that they can hit at the Russians deeper inside Russian borders. But I think the key thing is to continue to hold their resolve, to continue offensive operations in the south and in the east, and to prepare for any Russian offensive from Belarus. And at the same time, it's vital that Western Europe and the United States maintain its support for Ukraine to prevent the Ukrainians from being in a situation where they can't resist the Russian attack when it does come.
We also heard earlier from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that his forces are now readying for the possible involvement of Belarus in this conflict. We know Belarus, in the lead up to the invasion, acted as somewhat of a staging ground for Russian forces who are massed there. Do you think Belarus is likely to enter this conflict in a more direct way? And what could that mean for Ukraine?
Well, certainly Putin is going to be putting strong pressure on Lukashenko to enter the war in a large scale. Lukashenko can't really do that, because as soon as he does that, it's political suicide for him. So he'll be trying to push back as much as possible. But certainly there is talk of a Russian offensive in the new year, probably between late January and maybe early April, that would be designed to open up a new front from Belarus, aiming to take Kiev. In other words, to try and do what they tried to do at the beginning of the war, but this time do it more effectively. And I think the Ukrainians are well aware of this, and they're preparing the ground for defenses against that attack. And I think, once again, it's critical that Western Europe, that NATO, that the United States all get behind Ukraine and support it so that any Russian attack fails.
Okay, Malcolm Davis, we will have to leave it there, but it's great to get your analysis on this conflict. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.